I just took a break, okay, and now it's back to work.
Hey, you love that new intro, don't you?
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes, Jenna, you are such a goat. I love the fact that that was a surprise to me. I'm here for it. I think we need to keep this series longer. That intro alone makes me want to do it for like the next year.
And do a little dance on the way in. It's so exciting to see you tonight, Arvin.
Same. Hello, everybody who's listening and watching. Welcome to the Unscripted Intelligence podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about all things human intelligence, artificial intelligence, how they intersect, and how they impact everything from workplace to education.
On this podcast, we interview thought leaders, change makers, and innovators who are making waves and shaking things up. These are live conversations that are unscripted and unfiltered and uncharted as we create space for what isn't being discussed. And always, 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 these conversations are unavoidable.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for hopping in. Remember, these are live discussions, and welcome to this episode. Michelle?
I'm Michelle Ament, the co-president of the Human Intelligence Movement and the chief academic officer for ProSolve. The Human Intelligence Movement is dedicated to ensuring that all people have the human skills that are essential for succeeding and thriving in our AI world.
Yes, and I'm Arvin Ross, your other co-host, and I'm the co-founder of ProSolve, as well as the co-host of this podcast. And we are dedicated to developing students to become effective, efficient, and remain relevant in an AI world. That is what we do. So I'm super excited to be here with you guys. This is a live discussion. I cannot stress that so much. I feel like last week, Michelle, we had so many people chiming in that the conversation just took a million different directions. I would love to see that again here on this episode. So do me a huge favor, okay? If you are chiming in or listening or watching, please feel free to comment in with your name and where you're listening or where you are streaming from. Today is a great day because we are starting a whole new series. Is that right?
It's time to get our game on, and this Game Changer series that is made possible through our partnership with Community EDU and FETC.
Yes, super lit. We're going to be spotlighting risk takers and rule breakers who are rewriting leadership and learning from the intelligence age.
Because the future of education belongs to those that are brave enough to change the game.
Yes, I'm going to change the game. So let's come together. Let's challenge the old rules. Let's imagine what can be possible when we redesign all of the things that we're talking about. Wink, wink, wink. That's an ode to the series that just ended. And let's think about what happens when we center these conversations around human intelligence in the information age. So who, Michelle, is joining us today? Can you go ahead and introduce our guests?
Absolutely. We have two fabulous guests to kick off this Game Changer series. First of all, this is someone who is building the future of education. Rob Dickson is the Chief Information Officer for Wichita Public Schools, where he is leading innovation that is actually reaching the classroom and touching the lives of students. From launching a district-wide esports program to creating Kansas's first school, Rob is a game changer who is showing us what technology looks like when it becomes a pathway for curiosity and creativity. And joining Rob is someone who brings the same kind of game-changing energy, Becky Keene. She has spent over 20 years helping educators reimagine what learning can look like through her work with Phygital Labs. Phygital Labs, did I get it right, Becky?
Yes.
Love it, love it. She's helping teachers rediscover what happens when we bring curiosity, experimentation, and a little bit of play back into learning. She's a game changer, reminding us that learning should be creative, hands-on, and even a little bit fun. We are going to talk tonight with Rob and Becky about learning by doing.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, you two. Is there anything else that you would like for the followers, listeners, watchers to know about you before we move on from this introduction phase?
Just simply that I am no longer in a classroom. And I think that's important for people to know. I volunteer, I adopt classes, I run projects in schools. I'm not full-time in a classroom. And so I do a lot of my work listening and, really paying attention to what's going on in education. And I try to have a voice for people who are doing the work full time. Shout out to the thousands and thousands of teachers around the world who really are in it. I try to, help out and be a voice, but ultimately I just give them huge props because that is a very big deal.
Love it. Love it. Love it. What about you, Rob?
I think for myself, I see such a change in education right now, and I have such a passion for things that I love to read, I love to learn, and I have a non-traditional education background. So when I see kids that are struggling, I think, those kids need a spark like I needed a spark at that time. So I love doing the things that I'm doing right now and, just enjoying life. So
love it. Love it, love it. Thank you guys so much for hopping in. Again, a little reminder, if you're hopping into this live stream now, feel free to share your name, share where you're from, share anything else about yourself. I see Mark is on. He's from, what is that, Space Coast, Florida. I see Linda Dell is on, Copy Magic Game on. Love that. Thank you guys for hopping in. If anybody else is hopping in now, feel free to do the same thing. So let's go ahead and kick it off. This is the first episode in this whole new series, all about game changers, and kind of the thought process behind this series. If we could just give some sort of a backdrop, is this idea that in the world of academia, in the world of teaching and learning, in the world of innovation, in the world of entrepreneurship, there are these games that we have to play. I hate saying that because it really kind of feels like it could be a negative thing, but I'm not saying it from a negative perspective. We're saying it from the reality that there is just, there is a system, there are rules, and there are decisions that need to be made. Those are the qualifying factors for a game, right? Goals, rules, decisions, choices. And the reality is we are playing games. God, it sounds so, is it just me or does that sound negative?
Well, no, I mean, it's like there's almost like the status quo of how we do things. And I think that an analogy is we often say that we are going through the motions, playing the game of learning, playing the game of business, whatever have you. And it's because we know, like you said, here's the rules, here's what you have to do to win. And it's kind of been predetermined for us. And I think so. It kind of is a little negative, but I like where you're going. I like.
Okay, good.
Isn't that why the title is Changing the Game? Like,
yes,
come on.
yes,
That's
yes,
the
it
whole
is.
point.
Yes, there.
But I guess I've never had to articulate it in front of other people that I feel like is just looking at me like this is so. I'm not being negative. The goal is for us to talk about these systems, these rules, these games, these outcomes, these decisions that we are so used to doing. We're so used to participating, and we're so used to contributing to. It has been normalized for us to think that these are the rules that we get to play in, and we have to do that, right? And so this whole series is about those people who are changing the game, who are changing the rules, who are changing the systems, who are even changing what the end goal is, who are changing what a win condition is. And that's why you two are here. That's why everybody is chiming in and tuning in live. This is the bedrock and the foundation for this series, is we are talking about different games that we are playing. I hate them saying that again, but that's the foundation of it. Okay.
Well, I think one thing I want to say, Arvin, is the reason you hate it is you don't play the game.
I don't.
And your entire life has been disrupting the game, the status quo. Every kind of box you've been put in has been about how do you change the game? And that, I think, is what we're here to talk about. And we've got Rob and Becky who are changing the game. And like you said, changing the win condition in education. Yes. And we've got a lot to talk about. So let's dive in.
Yeah, let's dive into it. So really quick, I don't even know. I didn't plan this question, but based on what we just said, it just kind of, this is not coming up. Can you guys help me understand, or help everyone listening understand, what is, when we're talking about the win condition for education, the win condition for teaching and learning and innovation, what is that? What is the current iteration of that we're seeing now? We're not talking about if we're actually winning or if school systems are winning or not, but what is the win condition? What does that look like?
I would say when I think about the things that we've started here in Wichita Public Schools, there's a difference in the atmosphere, because I think our assumption of what knowledge means is very different today. And when I think about kids, like, I really see probably learning by, the new model is like elementary is learning by doing. I would say middle school is skill discovery, and then high school is skill development. And I think you're seeing that across the board, where our elementary kids, especially in our district, we're looking at being intentional with those kids and digital skills and digital literacy, but then also building those skills with those kids so that they can be ready. Because before, we would have CTE programs like at the high school level, and to have a freshman that didn't go through an exploration of what skills need to be, and those skills change, right? And I also think there's a life cycle to a skill that we've not really approached in post-secondary, right? Normally people would get a degree and they just think that that degree lasts forever. But those skills have to be refined on a much more higher frequency than they ever were before.
Rob, when you say these skills,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I think it's, if I had to put it into I think it's problem solving. Like, if you take Arizona State's 6 levels of problem solving, right? Academia really reaches like level 1 to level 3, which means the problem can be solved with one solution. And then as you get to problems that are so advanced that even a range of solutions doesn't solve the entire problem, those are the kinds of problems that we have today in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And those kinds of critical thinking skills are what we need for the future. And so when you look at that diagram, like, I'm in charge of esports also in the district. We have an amazing esports program, we teach gaming strategy, and a part of that is understanding situational awareness. And I think we've got to build some form of situational awareness and practice with our kids. And today our testing doesn't allow us to do that and test what problem solving looks like.
So I'm so into this conversation, because what you articulated are not like what I think the win conditions that we define success in education by. Primarily, it's amazing to hear Wichita Public Schools is defining that. But Arvin, you asked, like, what are the win conditions in education now? And I think it is more about knowledge and how your what you know about mathematics, what you know about reading, what you know about standards. And while I don't discredit that that's important, I think that we're missing that element that you just described as a true win condition in education. Would you agree, or do you see what you're describing as pervasive across districts and across this country?
No, I think you see it across the board. I would also say our teachers and our faculty grew up in a very different environment than what our kids are growing up in. I remember my mom, she would tell me, boy, get out of this house and don't come back until the lights come on, right? So I built some form of social fitness as I grew up.
Yeah.
And our kids don't have that mechanism today. Like, kids don't just go out and play without adult supervision anymore, right? And so gaming can be a way to do that in a way, but I would also say we need to fill in some of those areas that you didn't have with social fitness. And I think you see an anxiety in our social dynamics right now. And a lot of that is just dealing with the hard. Like in Creative Minds, we have a student showcase, and this is a K through 6 one-room schoolhouse, right? So we had a third grader that in their projects, one of them created a shovel that fertilizes the ground as it's being planted. So that we made them cold call a company to try to explain to a third grader what cold calling means, because they don't even know what a phone call is. Doing that hard, right? Because they were like, what if I fail? Well, yeah, you're probably going to fail. But teaching kids that social fitness of what failing means and going back and redoing again until you succeed is how you get through those hard problems.
I just want to say this, and then I'm going to toss it to you, Becky. First of all, Rob, I think what you're talking about is not common at all. I'm just going to be honest with you. We go to a lot of schools and work with a lot of educators and a lot of different superintendents. This like your approach and mentality is avant-garde the right word? I feel like that just came from the recesses.
I feel like that's how you describe outfits, Arvin, but
Yeah,
Okay,
art museums.
Yeah. Let's take that out. It's so forward thinking that I don't think I've heard it a ton. I want to go back to what Michelle said, and I'll even challenge what you said, Michelle, because I actually disagree. I don't think that the win condition is knowledge. I think the way that it's set up and how it works functionally in our education system here in America is that it's proving of knowledge through a test. So like the win condition is, can I memorize this information, regurgitate it onto a Scantron in 2 weeks, and then it is completely fine if I forget about it and never think about it again. And I like what Jason Blair said in the comments, that the current winning condition seems to be ranking, sorting, testing, consuming content information. Jason, I think you are spot on. That's what I would say. But Becky, I'm going to toss it to you.
Oh man, I feel like I have a whole list now in my head of all the things I want to comment on.
Yeah.
So firstly, to your point, Arvin, I think the current win condition in education is credentialing. So it kind of takes a step further, but it's what I can put on a pie chart. If I can show that 95% of my students graduated high school, that's a win in my community, in my, going out for bonds and levies and funding. It's what goes in the newspaper. It's what goes in the flyer, right? If I can show that X number of kids completed a AP program or an IB program or college bound or and that I feel like is what schools really laser focus on, because it fits on a pie chart and a graph. And if we can show those things, then it's a really objective, data rich way of showing people that schools are, quote, successful. Unfortunately, the skills that, some of us in education really want to champion, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, problem solving, design thinking, those don't fit nicely on a bar chart, right? And we have teachers who even struggle to assess them. And systems aren't set up to assess the things that aren't on a Scantron. And we're totally dating with Scantron, by the way. That's doesn't even exist, but we hear you. So I think it's this double-edged sword of, we don't have a system in place where we can show that kids are growing in skills that actually matter in life, like being able to have a conversation with an adult. And, people say if you want kids to look away from their screens, you got to open your door. To Rob's point, they have to be allowed to go outside and have unsupervised, unstructured play, which they're not getting because we have this different parenting model currently than we did. And so I feel like it's this cycle of, people want their kids to be out doing tough things, but they also want to protect. And so we have to, as schools, find this balance and also find ways that we can showcase what kids are doing and achieving that doesn't fit on a bar chart.
Right.
Because that's really what's going to take them forward in life. Ultimately they're going to be a successful human, and success has a different measure for every person, right? But they're going to feel good about what they've done in life if they're connected to other people through relationships.
Come on.
And they have some skills that they can use. And before I pass it off, I want to just throw out the book Reality is Broken by Jane McGonigal.
Oh my God, I love. Oh yes. Love
Okay,
her.
like what you're talking about. I'm like,
It's awesome.
there's a reason. And thank you, Dr. Mark, for agreeing with me about credentialing. I feel like we could get into a whole separate conversation about reality is broken and why people are seeking alternative environments for connection and community. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. And I have to jump in and say, the human intelligence movement is committed to measuring these human intelligences, because what we believe, like, we don't have it figured out, but Becky, you really articulated what we as a movement believe. And that is that we don't hold ourselves accountable to ensuring that students have these human intelligences and being able to measure those. I love what you're saying about putting that on a bar graph. I mean, we could, as a society, start to figure out how to measure these human intelligences if we believe that they really are as important as we say they are. And I think that to hear, Rob, you talk about even creating conditions for kids to take risks and fail, like, that's one step towards being able to put that on a bar graph, being able to say, how many times did kids do hard things and what skills did they create? That is like complete paradigm shifting that we need to see across the country.
This is go ahead.
I feel like we all talk about Thomas Edison trying so many times to make a light bulb, it's like been beat to death, but we don't actually champion that mentality in our schools or in our systems. We talk about it like it's this hero activity where to fail, but we don't create systems that allow for it, give permission to it. And we certainly don't give our teachers permission to fail.
Facts.
At all.
And I think it's
Maybe
so
Rob did.
Yeah. No, it's so evident. I love all these comments right that are coming in. It's so evident and it's so true. We do not prioritize the journey. And Michelle, it's so funny because one of the things that you just mentioned, we kind of touched on the last episode, which was the thing of the last series, and it's such a perfect like connecting bridge. This idea of these durable skills, these human skills, these skills that are not accounted for. One of the things that you guys are kind of surfacing is this idea or this reality that it is possible that in the current system we have, it is possible for, actually, let me phrase this as a question. Is it possible for teachers and administrators to win the game while students are losing the game?
Okay, that question's just mind-blowing. So is it possible for teachers to win the game when students are losing the game?
Yeah.
No.
I think I see that in a lot of our I'll call it high performing, right, programs, where kids have learned what it takes to check boxes and get through hoops and do well on a test, and yet some of them are not able to place a walk-up order at their favorite restaurant, right? They're going to order through a mobile app and not talk to anyone because they're nervous they're going to screw it up. And that's generationally kind of a trend that we're seeing in our teen group currently. And so yes, I think in that instance, we're using win in two different ways, but we're ultimately saying teachers and schools, some of them are getting a great report card, but the students aren't necessarily graduating winning at life. And that, I think, makes us all a little bit concerned.
I mean, it identifies that our measurement of graduation rate isn't the right measurement to go by.
There you go. Right there.
Like if we were to produce something better, it would be something to the effect of like either economic impact or some type of clearinghouse where you're showing effectiveness of a student post K-12 to show success in society, right? And I really think the only measurement likely right now is around like economic impact, because a kid going to an hourly job still has a positive impact to that community. I think we need to get back to the reason why education was made in the first place, was to, provide the community a support and an industry a support of people that contribute to the community.
And it's making me think about each community's measures of success would look different, because if you were in a manufacturing community and your school system was getting community members ready to be amazing at that role and build financial stability in that community, that's a win, right? So it would look different for different communities, which just makes me think a little bit about how we have standardized the approach for all students, all districts, all communities, all states, all, in our attempt to create equitable outcomes and equitable systems. Maybe we have created more inequity along the way.
Yeah.
Well, and we see that the world is flat and we're not preparing kids to stay in their community. Most of them do not. The majority will move somewhere else for any number of reasons. And so, many of our students, unfortunately, have not seen a glimpse of what is possible in their lifetime if they have some mobility. They're being introduced to things that are important in their geographic region, but there's so much more out there. And so if they don't feel like they fit in the industry that's popular in their geographic area, then that's really a struggle, because those kids don't feel like they have a path forward. And that's one area where I do think AI can be incredibly helpful in showcasing skill sets tied to career possibilities that aren't, necessarily known in your own community.
Let's take a look at some of the comments, because tonight we're getting really rich comments, lots of ideas, really tapping into this kind of common theme that our biggest disconnect is how success is being measured in schools. And just the fact that there's no magic formula for success when everything kind of goes down to one end of the year exam, that we aren't able to really understand the strengths of kids when we are focused on one unique measure. I kind of want to go back to this comment by Jason Blair, because I think this taps into both what Becky and Rob could speak to, and that is, and you too, Arvin, sorry, didn't mean to leave you out there, but this idea of the connection between failure and play. And both are feared on so many levels. Like when we talk about school, we don't see that pie chart of all the kids that failed. We don't put that up at the board meeting. And then this idea of play, like we can't have time for play. We've taken away the time for play because we're afraid that it's a wasted time or not part of the process. And so I'm curious about kind of thoughts on failure and play, as Jason brought up, and why we view them as maybe they're viewed in a more traditional sense, and so we disregard those.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in first here and say, Becky, you mentioned Jane McGonigal earlier. I am the biggest fangirl for her. Listen, do not get me started. She actually came on our tour bus, 5, 6, 7 years ago.
More than that, Arvin.
It was longer than that. It was like 9 years ago. Okay, I don't know, but it was a long time ago. But she was keynoting SD. We had our whole escape room tour bus there, and just absolutely wrecked us. But I think, Michelle, to your point, I would say that there's just a vast chasm between the amount of research and evidence-based content out there about play, and specifically about like hands-on immersive learning. And I feel like that is where the disconnect is, that the people that are still making the rules, the people that are still making the end goal, the people that are still in charge of dictating what the system is supposed to look like, they don't have enough information, content, real evidence-based information to understand, hey, we need to change the entire game. Rob, you are an outlier. You guys are unicorns. You guys are not the norm. And it's like you all have caught on to something to where you started changing the game. But I think, to your point, Michelle, we just have not had enough time. We've not had enough support to aggregate the information that's necessary to cause the decision makers to change the games, the rules, and the goals.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So is there, so I would love to hear from this group around how do you start to change the game then? Becky, what were you going to say?
Oh, this comment that just popped on screen from Michelle, who's joining us from Australia. I was like lasered in on that as well. And she kind of gets to your point, Michelle, of when we start, quote, changing the game, who gets to set what's important? And so, if our measure of success is every child goes to university, that's a very different success measure than every child has a career path or can support themselves financially or understands their civic responsibility. Like there's a wide range of what different people believe makes someone successful. And we might even have a group who says, hey, we're going to define success by those individuals are happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have joy in their day. And so play really does get to the root of all of that.
Mhm.
And I've gotten to be a part of many play-based communities through our work with game-based learning and esports and just different things. And I have a play AI thing I do, and giving kids an opportunity to be playful and also learn and meet some success criteria and, ultimately get on a life path that they feel good about is incredibly important. And I think those things can be connected. And so the first step in changing the game is helping decision makers see the value in skills that aren't tied to a standardized assessment. And I think that's the battle that educators have been up against for a very long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I got to absorb the research department this last year, so I am the person in charge of that measurement kind of thing. I do think as a system, the system sometimes gets in our way. Like when I think of the year and the checkpoints that we have, those checkpoints sometimes steer our focus away from the things that mean the most.
Yeah.
And I also think we're so focused on quantifiable information and because we can put that on a chart, that the qualitative side doesn't get introduced. And if we could ever get to a point to where there's like some equal measurement of quantifiable and qualitative information, that we could show the success of a student. Like I love our student showcases that we do. We're doing them in Creative Minds, our micro school, and then we're also doing them at Spate this year. Having kids showcase and show the work that they're doing and that hard work, that's probably the biggest. And we invite community in to come do that. Like there's a connectedness of community and other things that aren't put on a dashboard somewhere.
Right.
And I think somehow we've lost, and I don't know if it was No Child Left Behind and all those, the residue of that, all those aspects in education, if that's what took our focus away from producing an amazing human that gives back to the community and society that they live in. I don't know.
Yeah. Can I just say this? So actually, Michelle, do you want to take some of these comments since we just got a couple in?
Yeah, yes. I think Dr. Mark's talking a lot about just how the accountability measures are driving many of the instructional decisions. And I think, Rob, you articulated it really well, that quantitative, what we can put on a dashboard often is what gets noticed. So I start to really wonder about how can we start to quantify human skills? How can we measure human intelligence? And what would that look like with AI and technology? And how could we do it through a play-based environment where you're authentically practicing those human skills? Because our society values quantitative measures so much, and how could we start to do some of that? Makes me wonder a little bit about that.
I will take your question just one step further and say this. I feel like today's episode, we have these two who I would consider to be experts in the idea in the field of learning by doing. So I want to just toss out two questions, one specifically to you, Rob, and the other one specifically to you, Becky. Really quickly, for Rob, for you, you've launched esports leagues, right? You've launched immersive coding. You've launched virtual academies. What has that work taught you about what motivates students to learn?
Gaming concepts as a class we teach, it has so many sections in our high schools. We have more kids that take gaming concepts than any other elective. What I think that teaches is that students do want to learn. And if there's a huge, there has to be an interest in it, right? Like they've got to find, I'm trying to look for the word right now, relevance. Yeah. They need to find relevance. And right now in their content areas, they're not finding that relevance, right, and lost that intrinsic motivation to learn. And so when you engage them into an area like gaming concepts and in that play-based area, they succeed. Like our Southeast Buffaloes, 5-on-5 in Valorant, they have their own language. It's a shorthanded language. They created that shorthanded language and they use it in team play. And it's amazing because, there's so many processes for them to learn that shorthanded language that when they're in play, they're amazing. Mm-hmm. But think of all the dynamics of learning that has to happen for that to happen.
Yeah, and I'll just point out, because I know that Michelle has no idea what Valorant is. Valorant is a really dope 5-on-5 game. It's kind of similar to League of Legends, but from third person. By the way, Rob, I play League all day, every day. I'm an avid Smash tournamenter. I am kind of sick with the controllers, but League is like my main. So you're speaking my language here.
I was following. I knew what he was talking about.
Michelle, you've never heard of Valorant. What is Valorant? You've never heard of the Valorant?
No, I got the whole language part. Like we create our own language. So like I got it.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure you're good.
But I have a follow-up for you, Rob. Like, so in this elective, are kids creating their own game? Is that what they do? Like what is the outcome? What are they doing in this course?
They learn gaming strategy. So if you apply game theory to anything, right, mm-hmm. you could literally apply game theory to finances, to just about anything, right? Yes. We're teaching kids gaming strategy so that when they do game, they understand all the mindset that you need to go into in order to really compete in the game. So we sponsor 5 different games, and we have a esports arena where we have 100 esports stations. It's amazing to see.
Sounds like heaven, man. Where was this when I was this
school parents coming Friday night, and they have more questions for me than they'll ask me, like, I don't know what this is. I don't understand it, but if you could explain it to me, it'd be amazing, because my kid is totally in it. And then on Saturday, we have high school kids, and it's amazing.
I love it. I just want to point this out really quick. Early in the chat, Jennifer Peters said escape rooms. We were talking about keeping things relevant. To your point, Rob, you are spot on with the relevance thing. Back some 6-7 years ago at ProSolve, we kind of pioneered the whole escape room in a box for a class thing. And this was like before Breakout EDU was a thing, just so we're clear. I love Breakout EDU. But at some point, we kind of pivoted, and I designed a whole escape room EDU box on the Avengers Endgame, because at that time the movie had just came out. It was like the biggest thing, Avengers, and so we created this whole dope experience around the Avengers storyline and theme, and it became one of our most highly rated and highly requested professional development sessions that we did for both teachers and for students. And I think you're spot on that making it relevant to what they actually care about is the easiest way to make sure that learning is happening.
Yeah, you can't add rigor without relevance.
Yes, spot on. Becky, I want to toss it to you. You, again, are also an expert in this idea of learning by doing and this active experiential learning component. Your Play AI Challenge turns professional learning into a game. Can you help us understand why play unlocks creativity and confidence for educators?
you're talking professional development, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like building that community. So people do not want to sit and be told what to do, first of all, anymore. I think we've been there, done that. And so when we think about teacher training and professional development, and educators are like, listen, I can spend my time so much better and differently. But when we develop platforms and ideas and trainings that involve play, people are joyful. They're a part of a community. They're a part of a team. Maybe there's a little bit of competition. Those are skills that we're developing. We're developing people's, using those game mechanics where they know there's a likelihood they might fail, and they're going to try it again anyway, because the challenge is just barely out of reach and it's not unreasonable. It just creates a completely different environment. And that's something that I am incredibly excited about. I've been speaking for years on specifically not including 100% of our staff in every single PD, because we really need to be focused on the people who are interested, who want to be there, and who are going to participate fully. And to do that, and to get everyone on board, we need to have experiences. It's not, I just did a Play AI workshop for adults in Rochester, New York at a conference in August, and it was packed. I had like 60 people in there, and the buzz in the room was outstanding. And I did have I just tell this story because I think it's really relevant. I had one educator who came expecting training. Like, she came expecting to be told what to click and where to go. And she was actually really frustrated by the AI challenges, because that's not what she wanted. And we had a great little side conversation. And I said, hey, it is okay if you leave. Like, if this isn't what you needed, that's okay. However, I want you to learn from the person next to you. Like, when you're doing this, because she's like, I don't know how to prompt. That's why I'm here. And I said, yeah, I know. That's why we're all here. I want you to try it. I want you to see that it didn't work. I want you to lean it over at the person next to you and go, wait, what are you doing? Like, you're on a team. They should be showing you. And then when this challenge is up in 10 minutes and we all look at the results together and we vote on what we think, was best, and we cheer for the champion, and we move on to the next challenge. Now you're going to bring all of that learning with you into the next challenge, and you're going to do better on the next one. And she was like, not sold on that approach. And her team was like, yeah, come on, you're helping, like, you're brainstorming with us. And it was just really different for her. And I think a lot of educators have spent so long sitting in a training being told what to click and what to do, and then they walk out and don't use most of it.
Yeah.
They're not really a part of experiential learning and, being able to be a part of something that really turns on their neurons. And so having that experience for most people is really fun and exciting. And for a few people is just different enough to be frustrating. And as the facilitator, I had to be okay with that too, right? I had to be okay with, like, I have someone who's not happy right now. I think I'm going to get her there. But, it's okay to live in that frustration moment and not feel like, that's a loss. Because I felt okay about it. I felt like this is actually good for her in a really stretching way.
Here's what I absolutely love about that story and your approach, Becky, is that you're modeling for teachers, for educators, what it looks like to create conditions in your classroom where kids are learning from each other, where they're trying things, where there isn't a right answer, where it's okay to fail, and just putting them in that experience. And then I would assume at the end that you do some sort of like debrief where you help them kind of connect with their experience to the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I lead professional development in a game-based environment, just like you described. Like, that is where the most powerful learning happens, is that it's when you can kind of connect that learning by doing and how as adults we grew. And then it's like, oh, I could do this in my classroom. And I think taking that back then and being able to create that in their classroom for learners is the most like beautiful professional development, the deepest level.
Oh, you're giving away the secret strategy. Like, don't tell. No, that really is our goal. Our goal is that people leave saying on their way out the door, oh, I'm going to do this with my kids. And yes, in the Play AI challenges, we do absolutely have a debrief protocol where we talk through what would this look like for your students? What would this look like in your classroom? And we give them templates and, things they can use with their kids to get started. But I think it's really fun in, let's say it's just a little hour event or something, to have educators going, oh, I could do this with my students. And we're like, yeah, yes, good. If we're in Minecraft or whatever we're doing, to let them see that connection is so much better than for me to stand at the front and go, I'm going to show you all something you can do with your students. So yeah, the debrief is powerful.
I want to toss out one question to everyone here and all of you who are listening, and then I'm gonna get off camera for like 10 seconds. Okay. What is the big boss battle that we are facing right now in education? What is the final boss, and how are we gonna win? How are we gonna beat it? What is the boss battle and how we're gonna beat it? Anybody, go for it.
Oh, I have my answer.
Okay. I don't know what's happening with Arvin. That was a big departure. So go for it, Becky. What's the boss battle?
I'll be right back. 10 seconds.
Yeah.
From my opinion and perspective, it's funding. Because funding, people feel like, is the end all. Like, we can't do it. We don't have funding. Or, we're failing, so now we don't get our funding. Or we were failing and now we got more funding and then we did better and the funding got taken away because we were doing better. Like, funding seems to be what a lot of people talk about. Okay. And so I think it rules us. It becomes our big boss, right? Where we can't do things because X, Y, Z. And I think, unfortunately, in a lot of school systems, we don't have leaders like Rob who are in a place where they're seeing the cutting edge innovation and they're seeing the cost savings and where they can then repurpose that funding into innovative programs. And that's something where, something as silly as letting AI manage your thermostats, your heat infrastructure, like that kind of work pays dividends. And then we can repurpose that into programs for kids. And I think that's just a huge miss right now. We don't always have the knowledge and the visionaries and the school boards who are willing to attack budget really, really creatively.
So it's almost like that's maintaining the status quo, how we've always done things around costs and funding and operating costs. I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm. And then all of our programs are tied to it and we're stuck. Yeah.
Funding is a big boss battle. Rob, what are you thinking about?
I just finished reading 5 Types of Wealth from Salil, and he talks about in there that adaptability is the highest measurement of knowledge. I think it's adaptability. I think it's in public education, if we don't find some way to evolve quickly, I think you'll find other things will replace us. I think you're feeling that challenge at post-secondary right now, and it's just going to lean itself all the way in through K-12 education. I think we have to find alternative environments, alternative aspects. I think even like the micro school that I started, I constantly have conversations with parents of, are you sure that this is right for your student, right? Because it's just such a different mechanism. Yeah. Just like with AI, I don't think there's going to be one AI that we use, because I'm also in charge of AI and we use a lot of different styles of agents and a lot of different products. I think there's going to be a lot of different ways that we educate kids in the future. And if you look at, I think that traditional mindset still is still kind of leading us down a path, but I think kids will learn in a lot of different avenues in the future.
Love that. I think for me, I can't argue with either of those. And adaptability. I know, Arvin, you're just itching to weigh in. Do you want to go, or do you want to build?
No. You go first. You go first.
I've been thinking a boss battle is, I don't know what the right frame is, but there's something about trust and risk taking. And I saw Dr. Mark put something around, just the fact that leadership at the top has people like Rob who are willing to try things. And Rob, you even mentioned like your superintendent really empowers you to make some change and do things differently. And that takes a lot of trust in you as a leader to show up and take a risk. Who knew that all the things you've created were going to be wildly successful? They could have failed. And I am sure you have stories about things you tried that didn't get off the ground the first attempt. And so someone trusting you enough. And there's something about school systems and bureaucracy and that superintendent willing enough to sit in front of their board and say, we failed, we tried this with the best interest of kids and teachers in mind, and be okay with that. I don't know, is trust the right word that's getting in the way, or is there something else that you describe that? But we've got to overcome that innovation, that willing to risk. What do you think, Rob?
I guess I would go along with that trust. It's like every human needs judgment, right? Needs wisdom. And I think it's having the proof that you can fail and still keep going. I think that produces wisdom. And I think, if AI is going to take over knowledge, we just need our kids and our faculty to improve on wisdom and judgment.
I love that. Spot on. I am not going to take a ton of time. I will just say, I think that because we have to get to our unavoidable truth moment just here in a minute. I would say that I see the final boss as just our mentality. I think the final boss in education is this idea that because it's something we know or something we've done or a way that we've done it before, that means that it's right. I think the final boss has more to do with deep introspection and reflection on our own biases, our own, uncomfortability or fear of uncomfortability, and how that ultimately impacts the decisions that we make that have to do with the rules and the systems and the goals of the game that we're playing. I think the final boss is something so much more intrinsic than an external force. Because to your point, Becky, I totally agree that funding is a challenge. I think funding is a mini boss, but we see teachers who have no money that are innovating the hell out of their classrooms and are creating these insane. Canva's a perfect example. It's free. It's free for educators. It's like, and there's educators that are using Canva to create digital escape rooms or these digitally immersive things. And so I feel like it's a mindset. I feel like it's this everything we've been talking about, from the fear of failure to being uncomfortable, to challenging the status quo, to thinking that we know best. When let's just be honest. We grew up in this system. We were educated professionally by the system, and then we're teaching in the same system. I'd say the final boss is a mindset, but I think all of these are all super significant and super relevant challenges that just, when I hear about things like you two are doing, Rob and Becky, it blows my mind and it gives me hope. I just want to create a platform where you two can just get, like, I wish we have time in another episode, Michelle. Maybe we don't ask questions. We just have them share the work that they're doing. Maybe we do a whole series on hope in education or something like that. I don't know.
Well, Arvin, I got a solution for you.
Go ahead.
These amazing people are going to be at FETC and they're doing sessions at FETC, and they're talking about what they're doing and they're teaching people what they're doing. And so, Rob, you mentioned you have 5 different sessions at FETC. Becky, how many sessions are you facilitating? Probably close.
I love that Rob knew that off the top. I think I have 6. It's not a competition, but I think they gave me 6.
Like that's a perfect place. We'll be there. And Arvin, we're going to go to their sessions. We're going to learn, and we're going to invite the people to join us. And
I have one on Play AI, actually. We're going to do the challenge at FETC that I just talked about. So come to that one.
I'm there. I don't think we're gonna have time for unavoidable truth, but let's do this. I want to challenge everybody that is listening, get to FETC. We're going to be there. We're going to be there live. We're going to be doing interviews and podcasts and different things like that. And we're going to go to some of these sessions and take some clips. You'll probably see these two again on our little mini clips talking about their workshops or people that have went to it. So make sure that you get there and can hop in with us. Am I understanding correctly, Jenna, that you still want us to do UTT? Do you still want us to hop into unavoidable truth? Do we have time for that?
I don't know. Somebody's dog's saying, I want my dinner. And I think we wrap it. I think that boss battle, like the boss question, kind of was our unavoidable truth, right? Like the only thing I want to say, Arvin, is like here's what I love about these conversations. I don't know, Becky and Rob, I was moved by what you said, Arvin, because as a school administrator, I just want to name that I often played it safe and I often reinforced the status quo because it was certain it was what was expected in the system. And it's going to take game changers to really do things differently, to adapt for the intelligence age. And so I don't know, I kind of snuck in an unavoidable truth right there, because you really you hit me emotionally about what it's going to mean to change our paradigms, our mindset, our thinking. I don't know, Becky, Rob, any final words that you all have?
I would say Diane Smokorowski works with me. She's amazing. And one term she talks about is purposeful play. And I think our kids need purposeful play.
I love that.
Here's mine. If we're going to change the game, then it starts with you, the listeners. It starts with every individual educator who, like Arvin said, is out doing amazing things with maybe no support and maybe no funding. And that's what makes a difference for those kids. So keep doing it.
I love that. Thank you two so much. Before we leave, let me just go and give a shout out to Mark, Jason, Jennifer, Saad, Megan, and Michelle. Thank you guys all for chiming into the live discussion.
Yeah.
Really, you guys, your comments are great. I feel like at some point we need to just pull Mark on, because I feel like he is popping off every single time that we do this podcast. He's got some really great stuff. So Mark,
Megan, I mean, we ought to have just a session with all of them.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so dope. Like we literally don't have any guests. We just bring anybody on who's live and we just talk about whatever. That sounds hot. I love it. Really quick, Rob, can you tell us where anyone can find more things about you, can find more about your journey, can listen and hear to the work that you're doing, not just at FETC, because they're all going to be there, of course, but where else can they find more out about you?
Yeah, you can follow me at Show Me Rob on X or Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, so at Show Me Rob there. So
love it, love it. And Becky, for you, how can they follow you?
BeckyKeene.com is the very easiest way to get in touch. And then my company is Phygital Labs, but all that comes from BeckyKeene.com. So easy to find.
And your book, AI Optimism?
Yes, it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, linked, from my website, of course. But yeah, good stuff.
My next read, Becky. My next read. I'll read it next.
Yes, I love that.
You can put it on your list. Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. If you guys are looking for where to find us in additional spaces, head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube. We're also on TikTok. If you want to catch some of the mini clips, feel free to find us in any of those. Shout out to Jenna. Jenna, you are killing it, crushing it. You are the best producer, and you are the only person that makes all of this stuff happen. We cannot do anything without you, Jenna. You totally rock. Michelle, can you tell us what is up next for us?
Super excited. Next week, Game Changer series continues with Dr. Kip Glazer and students from Mountain View High School. These are students that Dr. Glazer is bringing to FETC, so we're going to get a chance to meet them, talk to them, and hear about how students are changing the game in education. So tune in next week for that and see everybody at FETC. We can't wait to be live and in person. Thanks, Rob and Becky, for being with us tonight.
Thanks so much, y'all. Thanks you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you all later next time.
Bye.